Hello, friends, and welcome to Boot Room, the show where we look ahead to Ipswich Town's next game. This game on Tuesday night at Portman Road against Cheltenham Town. Stewie, Mark, Heath, Stuart Watson here to preview the game for you. Town won 3-0 at home at the weekend over Burton. On the face of it, on paper, you'd say this is another game they should win. They certainly need to win at home to Cheltenham Town, down in 15th. But look beyond that paper, and this game suddenly looks a little bit harder, doesn't it? Cheltenham in good form, coming off a remarkable result at the weekend as well. How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, Cheltenham 3 places below Burton in the table. So as you say, that suggests this might be a slightly easier task than Burton, who were comfortably seen off 3-0, but Cheltenham 1 defeat in their last 9 games. That remarkable result that you refer to is a 5-5 draw at Wycombe at the weekend. They've had some good results prior to that as well. They beat Sunderland 2-1 at home less than a fortnight ago. They've drawn against Wigan. They've drawn against Oxford. That one defeat in that run was to league leaders Rotherham by a very narrow 1-0 scoreline. So another sizable banana skin for Ipswich Town and Kieran McKenna to sidestep tomorrow night.
In terms of the big question for every game, it's kind of becoming almost impossible to answer now, which is the lineup. It's very easy to answer for Town in the back 8. That's pretty much set in stone as long as Lee Evans is recovered from his knock that he took at the end of the game on Saturday. But the front 3 is a movable feast, isn't it? And it's getting more movable, it seems, by the game. Caden Jackson coming from out of Siberia to be the star man on Saturday. And you said, you've spoken to McKenna, and he said he's going to keep rotating these forward players. Town have got an embarrassment of riches there. Can you have a stab at what we might see tomorrow night? What would you do, for example?
Your guess is as good as mine. Joe Piggott's obviously come in from that frigid wasteland, the same as Caden Jackson. Nobody would have predicted Caden Jackson and Joe Pigott to start at the weekend, but both played their part. Jackson in particular. In that victory, Jackson was unplayable second half, goal, 2 assists, could have had more numbers to his name, came off to a standing ovation. Ordinarily, you'd think absolutely nailed on to start again, but Kieran McKenna is picking players for specific games, using their attributes against specific opponents. Will he think that Caden Jackson's pace and hard press and running of the channels is what's required against Cheltenham? Having looked at some of the goals they've conceded, my instinct would be yes. The next question would be, does he play sort of on the left side of that front 3 as he did at the weekend? Does he go back to being the sort of central striker as he was against MK Dons the previous weekend? Who knows? As I mentioned, Pigott started at the weekend. Sonny Aluko was kind of on the right side of that front 3, but Selina stepped off the bench and scored. Chaplin is another option who's been scoring goals of late. If you want my guess, Jackson with Selina and Chaplin in behind, back to that double number 10. That's a guess, but it is just that.
That's all we can do, really, isn't it, as it stands? Talk a little bit, Stu, about what McKenna's done in terms of he's rotating these players up top, and in theory that shouldn't really work because forwards are confidence players, so if they're in and out it shouldn't really lend itself to them being successful. But he seems to have a way of keeping players in the game, bringing players back that have been on the fringes for a long time and getting the best out of them.
Yeah, it's the art of man management, isn't it? Making it feel like it's a squad game rather than a team game. You get the feeling that he's able to kind of soften the blow of dropping players by telling them there is a game coming up for you, whether it's in the next week, the next fortnight, you will get another chance and you will be used for a specific purpose. So keep yourself mentally sharp, physically ready. And that's exactly what Caden Jackson has done. So lots of impressive things about Kieran McKenna so far. But yes, this is another test, and Ipswich obviously have left themselves such a small margin of error with that poor start to the season that they really can't afford to drop too many points now between now and the end of the season. So 7 wins out of 10, remarkable. 7 clean sheets out of 10, remarkable. Has now given themselves a really good chance. The gap is down to 4 points, but need to keep that momentum rolling now.
What kind of game are you expecting from Cheltenham, Stu? Obviously, we saw them earlier in the season. That game will always be remembered for Macaulay Bond's extraordinary miss and Town going on to then lose the game. It's not often, though, you play a team with a striker who's just scored 4 goals in a game. So what kind of game are you expecting from Cheltenham?
Yeah, I think people remember that game for the Ben Tozer long throws that Ipswich Town eventually succumbed to twice to lose from a winning position as they managed to keep dropping points from winning positions under Paul Cook earlier in the season. Tozer's now gone. He's joined the money revolution at Wrexham. Cheltenham are a team that I think like to play. They like to play out from the back. They won League Two playing a brand of football that people enjoyed. And that might suit Ipswich. I think they've been more suited to playing teams that want to sort of take them on at their own style of game rather than sort of parking the bus as others have done and frustrated. So hopefully that creates the same sort of spaces for Ipswich Town to attack as Burton left at the weekend. So as you say, Alfie May's a man in form. He got 4 at the weekend. He's got 8 in 4 altogether. It's a really good sort of big man, little man, old school strike partnership they've got up there. May's the little man who's scoring the goals, but don't underestimate Keon Ntete, the youngster on loan from Spurs. He's 6'6" tall, and he can create a bit of havoc and has been laying on quite a lot of those goals. So a test of an Ipswich Town defence that has not been conceding too many goals of late.
Okay, and Stu, big question time, prediction time. Cheltenham scored 5 and conceded 5 at the weekend. Ipswich Town aren't conceding goals. What do you reckon is going to happen tomorrow night at Portman Road?
Not an easy game for Ipswich Town, but I did say that about Burton as well. I thought Burton had some qualities that would test Ipswich, and they did, to be fair, in the first half, but Ipswich weathered that storm of the set pieces and the long throws. So you would hope that Ipswich can kind of come through any similar tests, and ultimately their greater quality will show, as it did. Now, and I think that's what will happen. Part of me, maybe it's just through years of being sort of having my cynicism built up following Ipswich Town, thinks that there'll be a crushing, disappointing blow over these next few games that will bring everyone back down to earth. I hope it's not tomorrow night. I don't think Ipswich Town will have it all their own way, but I think they'll come through it just to win 2-1.
2-1. I'm going to say 2-0 because I think Town are rock solid at the moment. And fingers crossed we're both right then. If you are going to the game, enjoy it. If you're not, follow it with us. Stu, Andy and Ross will all be there, so look out for all the content we'll be putting out on the night and the following day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.